Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. It's a little sunnier out than I would like for a tour, and it is a little windier out than I would like as well, but I do want to thank you all for your comments in the last video and signing up to win the trowel. So I wanted to get this video out so that then we could count up who is going to be the winner and let you all know. So we will do that in the next video. My name is Soleil and I garden in mid-Michigan. I am so excited about the fact that my fountain is finally going. It is so lovely just to sit in the garden and enjoy some of this warmer weather that we've had and listen to the fountain going. But today I just wanted to walk through the garden and show you a little bit about what's going on because everything has changed so much since the last time that I took you around. It's only been about 5 days, but the growth has been phenomenal. So let's take a look. So please continue to ignore any of the messes that you see around. As I heal from my surgery, things are still really slowly happening and I have to prioritize what it is that we can do around the garden. And right now it's trying to get some of the mulch out and then have a little rest and then get a little more mulch out. So this garden bed is right by the fountain and we have some beautiful purple tulips blooming. The incredible hydrangeas that we planted last year are just really beginning to leaf out. I cannot wait to see how those perform this year. And then we have these gorgeous little purple pasque flowers. These are an alpine flower. And pasque flowers do really well over the winter, and they're a clumping plant, and I think that they're just a beautiful addition to this bed. The ajuga, which is chocolate chip variety in this bed, is just starting to, you can see some little peaks of color in here of the blue and purple. And then, as you can see over here next to the deck, we have some gorgeous pink tulips. Aren't those pretty? So these start out fairly white and then over time as they begin to open up and age they turn a deeper and deeper pink. I think those are just gorgeous. They are multi-petaled and you don't see that a ton in tulips. You'll see that lots of tulips are blooming everywhere in the garden right now. And it's really a beautiful and colorful show. And I'm very lucky to have some borrowed landscape from my neighbors with their magnolias and the peach tree and the gorgeous willow. It really provides a nice backdrop on the other side of the fence. By the fountain we have some azalea that are getting ready to bloom. And obviously these beautiful Darwin hybrid tulips are doing fantastic. They look so lovely. The clematis have all put on so much growth on the trellises. Now you can see in this garden bed how the ajuga, which is also the chocolate chip variety here, is really starting to bloom out with that beautiful blue-purple flower. And then we have a creeping phlox in front that is also blooming. So magnificent to see. Back in this corner is much more shade, and we have a clematis with some heuchera, the spearmint of the Dolce series heuchera, along with a hosta in front of that. That is the autumn frost, I believe. And you can see this beautiful little forsythia is still going. We have columbine that is really filling out back behind the arborvitae. And the spirea is looking really great as well. Now the Japanese maple, they are all really beginning to open and unfurl their leaves. And you can see this row of tulips is just stunning. Now I thought one of the tulips that I saw last week, the yellow one, was actually a leftover from years before, but now I'm seeing several other yellow tulips in this pink mix that I ordered, and so I think they're actually just errors. but I'm okay. It looks beautiful anyways. I might pull them after they're done blooming just to keep the pink all together, because I really do like the way that the pink looks in this border. You can see all of the heuchera just really exploding with growth here. And we have lilies that are planted amongst that, as well as some midnight masquerade penstemon. So lots of multi-season interest there. It does actually look like I'm only going to get one bloom on this viburnum, which is a little disappointing, but I'm just glad to see that it is continuing to do well. I do believe it blooms on old wood, so this year, because it's so much bigger, I think we'll get more blooms next year. And I'll just continue to make sure that I don't prune off any of the old wood. Just look at those gorgeous tulips. It is in the 80s today. Luckily, it is a little bit overcast. We have lots of phlox and heuchera and some deutzia in this garden bed, along with hostas and sedum. And so this garden bed right here has a little bit of a ways to go before some of the things that are in it are blooming. But it's coming right along. I love the color of this barberry. I do plan to trim that a little bit, just to kind of make it into more of a vase shape and allow plenty of space around the bottom for planting as it grows up. So just to look down and around at what the garden is looking like now, it looks completely different than it did a week ago. So many flowers and so much color as things come up. And the Fothergilla is blooming now. Some probably pronounce that Fothergilla. This is the Mount Airy, and again, it's called a bottle brush bush. So I'm going to get in a little bit closer so you can see what those blooms look like that have just started to open. Aren't those beautiful? And as you can see, some of the hostas are beginning to poke out here. We have done a lot of dividing last fall, and so that's part of why we need a lot of mulch this spring to cover things up, because as I divide things and replant them, some of that mulch does end up going back into the garden beds, but that's okay because it's not a ton. And so those autumn frost hostas are lining the edge of this bed. And in addition to that, I have some really cute ones that are in front that are called curly fries hostas, and I divided a ton of these last year and they're just starting to poke out, but they're a really unique curly and skinny leaved hosta that we'll show you as they continue to get bigger. And the apple tree is blooming. This garden bed over here is looking really full with the golden tiara hostas along the front of the edge, just filling right out. And the heuchera is beginning to grow on. And that azalea, isn't that stunning? I love the color of that. People were asking me about this plum. I have two of them. It is called a thundercloud purple leaf plum. I got these, they were from Monrovia. I got them at Lowe's. Also really interesting to me right now is this weeping spruce, which is not only putting out new growth, but if you can see that deep purplish burgundy colored growth. Those are pine cones. It's growing its own little pine cones this year, which is so stunning. I love that look. I can't wait to see how big the new growth is, and those are called candles when you see those on pine trees. And if you ever want to trim pine trees, when the candles come out, you can select how long you want them to be by trimming them to help control the growth if you want to keep them small. Can you just hear all the birds? We have lots of robin nests around our house, probably 3 nests of robins that are in the gutter area where they connect to the house, and then we have multiple other nests of cardinals and chickadees. I thought it would be fun to add a little container amongst this stump here, so I put some of the golden Hakona Chloe grass in there, along with a small pansy that I had found in the pathway. The Brunnera are starting to grow their cute little blue flowers, very reminiscent of the forget-me-not. But I have to say I really like the Brunnera much better than the forget-me-not. As you can see, this cordial canary ajuga in this bed is getting ready to bloom, and it looks so much more yellow now. It's getting pretty. I think it will look much nicer once it is a full carpet of color. Kind of looks a little bit strange being unconnected, I think, because also the mulch is so many different colors right now. We will come through and mulch this bed as well. There's our nasturtiums that we planted hanging on, and I think that I might put some rhubarb in that container. I'm not sure if that'll be a good choice yet or not. I haven't decided. But just look at all these hostas, you guys. They're really coming up. The beautiful pretty and pink pulmonaria here on the right. Just look at those blooms. They change colors as they come out. You just can't go wrong with any kind of pulmonaria. And then the bright limey color of this catching fire heucherella. Simply gorgeous. Now along here you can see the Japanese ferns are finally starting to turn a little bit green, which you have to wait for because they do blend in with the mulch so well. I'm going to show you this one over here, which looks just like mulch, but you can see it a little bit. So it takes a while for those to come up. We're getting ready to see some beautiful blue blooms on these blue moon phlox that are planted in here, and the Dicentra bleeding heart are starting to put out some flowers. And I can't forget these pink foamy bells. Aren't those cute? This is a heucherella. I think this half moon garden over here just looks so cheery. And the lemony lace elderberry right here, look at that. So stunning. So this is almost what the flowers look like open on this plant. They are not super showy, but they're super cute. Very, very pretty. And we have some very nice hostas that are coming up in this bed. Down here we have some violas that I planted from seed, and one of them is starting to bloom. So I wanted to show you because it's always so fun when you see something that grows from seed all the way to flowering. You get a little sense of accomplishment no matter how long you've been gardening. We have some giant sum and substance hosta here, along with some more Brunnera. I believe this is a Halcyon hosta. So this edge is coming along very well. And these Fun and Games Hookerella hopscotch version, those are beautiful, just filling out. Everything's filling out. Now we did get this bed mulched, so I think that one looks amazing as well. Just such a lovely backdrop, especially as you see the crisp white edges of the hostas here. And then let's just look at those pulmonaria. Isn't that beautiful, the colors there? They make a statement when they're planted en masse. I love that look. And then the Japanese ferns in this area are just starting to come up as well, which are very difficult to see. But they're probably about 5 inches high at this point. And they're going to begin turning green, so we'll be able to see them even better. Just so pretty, all the colors in here. And here's the second thundercloud plum, which is just finishing up its bloom cycle. They only bloom for probably about a week and a half from start to finish. So not a long period of time, but enough to really enjoy the bloom and help bring spring along. Lots of different things coming on in this bed that we'll be watching over the coming weeks. And it's really going to fill out. And while you can't see the ajuga very well in the bed right now, it's definitely going to pop in about a week because it will all be blooming. We have some other flowers over here along with our daffodils. This half moon bed really has a lot of wild violets in it. And I know some people consider them a weed and some people consider them a flower. I tend to let them be unless they're in a place that I don't want them to be, and then I will remove them. They self-seed like crazy, so you don't have to worry about removing them because one might create about 100. So this bed is just looking really great. I think the blueberries are happy because I see lots of buds getting ready to bloom on them. Let's see if you can see those. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we might be able to get. Last year I did end up having to cover them with some netting just to keep the birds out, but it was pretty successful. I did get a few blueberries the very first year, and so we'll see what happens this year. The potager garden is doing good. I'm really excited about the strawberries because lots of blooms happening in here. Lots of little pink blooms all over the strawberries. This means we're going to get some berries this year. I think it'll be a decent harvest, and I have some in pots as well that I took out of the ground because I thought they would look cute spilling over the edges of the pots. And the sparky, I kept calling this the sparky blue clematis, but it's actually the sparky purple. But just look at the buds on it. They're like these little bell-shaped flowers. Aren't they gorgeous? I'm hoping this will climb up the whole trellis this year. I just planted it last fall, so we'll see how vigorous of a grower it is. We have a really great row of lettuce that I've begun picking on here that we grew from seed. And then the others that I just kind of flung the seed in the ground early in the year, and it's growing very well also. Just kind of an experiment to show folks that you really don't have to tend too much to some plants to make them work. We still have some Virginia flowers, and I'm seeing some buds on the bearded irises now, and you can see the service berries are blooming, which is really exciting to me because I haven't gotten a really good bloom like this before. And I think this means they're going to be tall enough and thick enough that the rabbits aren't going to chew them off this winter. I can't wait to see what berries might come along. Now this bed has a bit of space in it still, but that's because we added quite a few new shrubs this last year. The Pinky Winky hydrangea to the left. We have some beautiful Concord barberry. Some awesome foxglove is going to pop up in between those, and then we have that rainbow weigelia that's variegated in the front, along with the not the limelight hydrangea, the little lime hydrangeas in back, and the dark horse weigela here in the front. We have a whole row of dianthus that lines the front of this bed. I really like to have edger plants just to provide continuity of the bed, and those will be blooming soon. Let's check out the front yard. So one of the questions that I get asked a lot is about my garden beds and the rock edging. People often ask me, where do I get the rocks? And I just have gotten them over the years from many different places: Christmas tree farmers, regular farmers, neighbors who are getting rid of them, off the neighborhood apps, from Facebook Marketplace. But it's a lot cheaper way to get them than it is buying them from a landscape supply company. So in this bed we have a bunch of Thalia Daffodils that are still blooming. These are more of a late bloomer, so they're excellent to add to your spring bulb collection to extend the season of daffodils. I always find that if you aren't really careful, you can go from having some flowers in April to having nothing in May. Now this year was a little bit of an exception because of the weather, but that's been my experience. Now, oh my goodness, look at the color of the flowers on this lungwort, this pulmonaria here. I think this is the Diane Claire variety. I have to check to see whether it's the Diane Claire or the Samurai. I got two of them last year that were very similar looking, but I'm pretty sure this is the Diane Claire because it has more spots on it. But just look at the deep color of that blue, just stunning. I can't wait to have more of that plant. We have an orange rocket barberry that is standing up amongst all of the lily of the valley, which I'll never be able to get rid of even if I wanted to. Some lovely low-growing shrubs like weigela, and another lemony limoncello barberry. And this bottle brush, the Blue Shadow, is also getting ready to put out some of its bottle flowers. So pretty. People ask me about this one all the time, and you'll see why once it leaves out. It gets a glaucous blue foliage on it, which is absolutely gorgeous. So, I just showed these beds in the video that we did about mulch just a couple days ago, and you can already see how much growth we got since that video itself. We have some pink sparkler birch leaf hydrangeas, spireas here. A couple of those in this bed. Look at the gorgeous bleeding hearts. These don't last for very long, but they sure are beautiful while they're here. And all of the hellebores, the flowers on them, you can clip them back if you want to and then just have a foliage plant. I don't mind leaving them. They do set seed, and the seeds will fall throughout your bed, and you do want to make sure that you get them out before they grow in between your hosta leaves or whatever other plant there is. But yeah, you can just see this bed had nothing showing, and now look at all those hostas that are coming up amongst the hellebores. It's another pink sparkler spirea back there. And these bleeding hearts, this started from just one plant that I got from a friend, and I have divided them and put them all around the garden. It really helps to create a cohesive look in the garden to have repetition. We have an azalea getting ready to bloom, and the two boxwoods that we just planted that are looking really nice. Let's take a look at the crabapples next. Okay, everybody, how is that for beautiful? This crabapple is absolutely stunning on the right, and it smells amazing as well. It doesn't actually set fruit, which is nice because it doesn't make a big mess. One of the things that I absolutely love about flowering trees and shrubs is how as the petals and the flowers begin to end and fall down, they make a beautiful, beautiful carpet. And it's just so romantic when you think about those petals falling on the ground. They just make a beautiful look. Now, temporarily, I moved my planters with the 2 pines into this bed, just so that I have a place for them until I decide exactly what I'm going to do with all my planters. We have some tiny wine 9 barks in here, and these are super cute, and they will bloom soon. But just look at all the daffodils down the row here. And the purple leaf sand cherry back here is getting ready to bloom. I love the way this looks with the whitish pink and the purplish red leaves. So pretty. Not quite at its peak yet, but beautiful. And all of the Thalia Daffodils, this is that same variety I showed you in the other bed. Gosh, this just smells so good, you guys. Reminds me a bit of orange trees in Florida. Okay, now we have to take a peek at this crabapple too, because my goodness, everyone, look at that. It's a stunner. The color of those blooms, I can see why this one is highly rated. And the weeping habit, oh. Now I plan to trim this in a way that it grows north to south and not so much east to west. It's going to be a little experiment. We'll see how that goes. That way it won't interfere with the driveway as it gets wider. So much to look at though in the garden. We have buds all over these viburnums. These are the blue muffin viburnums. And then let's take a look finally at the front, what I call the front sunbed, because it's out in the open with the weeping cherry. Okay guys, here it is. It's looking pretty beautiful. I'm really loving the colors of the orange rocket barberry. And then unfortunately the rabbits and or deer got some of the tulips, but could you imagine if we had some more of those big apricot tulips in here, that glowing pink orange with the orange rocket barberries, and then all of these daffodils. Oh, I love it. And these bobo hydrangeas are starting to get leaves, so we're definitely trying to make sure that we use the liquid fence and spraying. I often get questions about that as well, so that's what I use in order to protect against the critters eating my beautiful flowers and foliage. And we do it a lot in the springtime, and then we slow down a little bit as the summer progresses and there's plenty of other things for them to be eating. Starting to get some blooms on the Yuki cherry blossom deutzia that are in this bed, or at least I'm seeing the buds that are going to produce the blooms. So there you have it, guys. That is the garden tour for now, and we will do another one soon. If you have any questions about what any of the plants are, feel free to let me know. I try to respond to everyone. Sometimes there's lots of comments and it's a little bit harder, but I do my best. So thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate all the new subscribers and look forward to giving away that trowel. Take care. See you next time. Bye.